Hi, Brooke. All right,
Hey.
thanks for being available. All right, we're gonna start this regular school board meeting in the Nampa School District, and we will start off with a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Next, we'll read our mission statement, which is the mission
Mission of the Nampa School District is to ensure high levels of achievement for every student.
And our vision statement is
Every student is fully engaged in extraordinary learning experiences, preparing for the successful transition to the next stage of life.
All right, we have welcomed all of our guests, and I will entertain a motion for the approval of an agenda.
Motion moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
And next, we will I'll entertain a motion to move into executive session.
I move to enter into executive session per Idaho Code 74-2061B, D, F, and J. B, to consider the evaluation, dismissal, or disciplining of, or to hear complaints or charges brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual agent, or public school student. D, to consider records that are exempt from disclosure as provided in Chapter 1, Title 74 Idaho Code. F, to communicate with legal counsel for the public agency to discuss the legal ramifications of and legal options for pending litigation or controversies not yet being litigated, but imminently likely to be litigated. The mere presence of legal counsel at an executive session does not satisfy this requirement. And J, to consider labor contract matters authorized under Section 74-206 1A and B, Idaho Code.
Okay,
I will-
motion's been made
I will second.
and seconded. Roll call.
Kirkman,
Aye.
trustee Behrens,
Aye.
trustee Jennings,
Aye.
trustee Taylor.
Okay, we'll move into executive session. Thank you, Trustee Taylor. Because the next time we're coming out of executive session and welcome some of our guests here. We do have scheduled the Skyview volleyball team for our student spotlight. But before we get to them, as we're waiting for them to come in, I do want to excuse Trustee Taylor. She is listening, but she will not be participating in any action items or votes or anything like that. But she will be here next month at our regular board meeting. And yeah, we still waiting. I mean, we can move to comments. Let's move to comments. Do we have any comments, trustees? We'll start with Ms. Benz.
I just want to say thank you to the Sherman staff and the district for providing some extra counseling support after the Halloween incident. So it was very nice for everybody to pull together around that. So thank you.
Trustee Behrens.
We had the opportunity to go to the ISBA conference last week, and it was very nice, very informative. It was good to see other districts there. Got a couple of ideas. One of them, student achievement, that I'll talk about at another time, but that was something that I got out of that convention. So it was good.
What was your favorite part?
What was my favorite part of the convention?
Time's up. Just kidding. Trustee Jennings, you can chime in later.
That's okay.
Yeah, so I had an opportunity to go as well to Coeur d'Alene, and it was really nice to get to see all of the other school boards there and some of their administrators, and really informative classes, great instructors, great venue. I was impressed.
Yeah, I'm not going to ask what your favorite part was because I know. Yeah, and I had also had an opportunity to go up there. And I was up there for a couple of reasons, but go to the convention. You know, I always find it interesting going to the convention because you see so many different. All we see here is just the Nampa School Board and what we do, but you see so many different sizes of school districts. That's what's always fascinating to me when you see school districts that have 100, 200 total students in their school district. And then you see Boise, Nampa, and all the big ones too. You forget that there's hundreds of school districts around the state. So it's always good to talk to others and get their perspectives and things that they're doing. So
It
good.
was well attended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was always attended very well. Chrissy, do we have any public comment signups?
No, not at this time.
Okay. Typically, we always have an opportunity for the public to sign up, and they can come up and talk about anything they want, as long as it typically applies to school and education here in the Nampa School District. But if there's anyone in the audience that wants to use their 3 minutes and take the podium and talk about anything they would like to talk about in education, now is your chance. Seeing none? We just want to make sure we give that opportunity. Okay, we're going to backtrack a little bit now that we got the volleyball team here. We're going to give you an opportunity. We wanted to take I'll just turn it over to you. You can just take it from here. I just think it's awesome what they've done.
Chair Kirkman, trustees, Superintendent Russell. I'm only going to take a minute too because you're not here to see me, but just real quickly as a principal of Skyview High School, I want to introduce our 2025 6A volleyball state champions,
So incredible.
led by Kevin Murphy. So he'll come up and the kids. So here they are.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Oh. Well, I first off like
I'm like,
thank
what
you
are
guys for having us here tonight. We really appreciate all the support we get from the community, from our schools, our admin. Young bonds are terrific. Everybody, Mr. Barber, you guys, everything that is able to make this season happen comes from you guys all the way through. So thank you very much for having us here tonight.
Quick question. How long have you been the coach?
I want to say 23 years.
Yeah. Wow.
How many
Fantastic.
state championships?
We've won 7.
That was going to be my next question. Just a fantastic career.
Very fortunate to have a lot of really good kids that are really in love with the sport. put a lot of time in outside of our own season to get better, and weight room, everything you can imagine. These kids sacrifice a lot to be the players they are.
I imagine so. But still, 23 years as a coach, you're doing something right there, coach. You're doing something
got
right.
good players.
You're churning out those championships.
Well, thank you.
Well, yeah, these players behind you, I'd like to ask a couple of questions of them, if you don't mind. Trustees,
All right.
someone
Hi.
step up. You gotta introduce yourself, your name, rank, and serial number. Like, what grade are you?
I'm Elizabeth Bauer. I'm a junior libero at Skyview. I'm committed to go to Louisville. And
Committed to Louisville
Yep.
as a junior?
yes, sir.
Wow, that's cool.
Anyone else want to go?
I'm guessing a volleyball scholarship.
Yes, sir. Yeah. You know,
Right on.
I'm excited to go to Kentucky. So
Very cool.
That's cool.
How many of the girls are seniors? That's a coach's
we
concern.
have
Yeah.
is it six seniors.
6 seniors on the team.
Yeah.
Oh, so
Well, there's the
another
pub,
championship next year then, huh? Yeah.
Like, thank you. Yes.
Very cool.
So I had the pleasure of attending that championship match, and it was, I was on pins and needles. It was fantastic. You guys gave it your all. You left it on the court.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So you should be real proud.
I was watching the scores on my phone as I was driving home, and it was just, you gotta be kidding me. They're going all the way down.
Oh, it was crazy.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
I honestly think in all my years, it's some of the best high school volleyball ever played. And
Yeah.
from everything
good.
I've been around, it was a really high level quality played match.
And everybody's talking about volleyball. Everybody's talking about volleyball. I mean, it's just, it really, you coach a little bit, but you guys have really raised the bar on volleyball where people, it's not just football and basketball now. People are seriously talking about volleyball all the time. I hear it all the time. It's great. Anyone else want to step up to the mic? Or I'll call on somebody. And I only know one other person in the crowd, so.
So she better come up on her own.
Okay, I'm Lila McClure, and I'm a junior setter. I'm committed to Utah Valley University. So
Wow.
Nice.
Who else has scholarships?
right back here.
All right, we know who's next then.
Oh, yeah, I know
I'm
Jill, too.
Jill Deathridge, and I'm a junior middle blocker, and I'm committed to the Grand Canyon University.
Great. They commit this early?
Seniors and both of them are committed to play too.
Wow. Well, congratulations. How did you feel after winning the championship? What was it like, that moment when you knew that it was yours?
I'm Janessa Pridgeon. I'm a senior. When we won, it was very overwhelming, and I bawled my eyes out.
We all did.
Did they let you guys cut the net down or anything like that?
No, not like basketball, where you can take the net. Yeah,
I was gonna say at least, very
Mhm.
cool. Well,
There's the family.
yeah,
One of kind.
That's a great picture.
that's just, it's amazing. And 6'8" too. I mean, you were playing, who was your toughest competitor?
Probably Madison
Madison? Really?
for
They-
in-state.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Trustees, any other questions? Girls, thank you so much for taking some time and coming down here. I think it's always great when we can recognize the extra efforts that our students do in the district and taking home the state title, 6A state title in volleyball. You've done so much for the sport. It's amazing. I think it's just amazing. So congratulations to you and all of you that are moving on and to senior years or beyond senior years. It's going to be exciting to see the team next year, Coach, see what's going to happen. I'll be watching.
Very cool.
Anything else? All right, well, congratulations. You don't have to stay at the
Pretty cool. Really cool.
It really is interesting how much volleyball is in the conversation nowadays. I mean, it's just like mainstream sport now. It's just really cool. And these girls,
When you get on ESPN and all those things,
Yeah.
it's a powerhouse program. It's a great thing for our district and
yeah.
great kids, great school.
All right. Next item on the agenda is a consent agenda, so I'll entertain a motion unless a trustee would like to move something out of the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
All right, it's been motioned and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, that passes. We'll move quickly to our action items. So we have 2 action items. Dr. Russell, I'll just turn those over to you since they're.
Chair Kirkman, trustees, first action item on the agenda tonight has to do with the Idaho Arts Charter Performance Certificate. IAX is what I'll call it. IAX and the Nampa School District have had a long history together, dating back to the beginning of IAX in the early 2000s, I think around 2004, 2005. And the Nampa School District School Board has authorized Idaho Arts Charter for a long period, so 20-ish years. Back when Idaho Arts started, the only way a charter school could be authorized was through a school district. And Nampa, I believe Idaho Arts was the first charter here in Nampa, and so the Nampa School Board approved it. We've had a very good relationship with Idaho Arts Charter. Over the years, charters have predominantly been authorized through the Charter Commission. And Idaho Arts has, over the years, also become more what they call a local education agency. So they began to kind of work on their own more than through our district. And so we actually, as the years have gone on, although we've had a good relationship, we've had very little interaction with Idaho Arts.
Yeah.
We don't oversee their program very much. Occasionally, once a year, what we used to do before they became their own LEA is we would review 4 areas. So we would review their finances, we would review their HR, we would review their special ed, and we would review their federal programs. Because some of that money would come to us and then we would distribute that to them. When they became their local education agency, the money no longer came to us, it just flowed straight to them. So it kind of separated us even a little bit more. Their performance certificate, by their requirement, would be they would have to come in front of our board every few years. I think it was every 5 years to get renewed. At that point, the board could review the certificate, ask questions, etc. A couple years ago, I think around 24 is when it should have been renewed again, maybe 25. And it's possible that I missed it. They sent an email to us. We might have missed it. So we did kind of lapse in that because it's been a little bit longer since they last came. However, there's been a new law in Idaho that was passed that when I was talking with Mr. Burke, their director, that allows Idaho Arts to, if they're in good standing with the state, I think up to 12 years, they can have their certificate reauthorized. And so at this point, they are reauthorized, but he did say it would be nice, since officially we do oversee them, that if we could consider signing their authorization, they would like that. Did have some discussions about the relationship and what does that future look like. But currently right now, we do authorize them, and on your agenda tonight is the authorization for Idaho Arts. And you will see the one that they sent does include former Chair Taylor's name on it. And we would have to get that corrected. In your board memo, you'll see there's a motion that says that tonight, if we do approve it, it would need to be approved by our current board, signed by our current board chair, which we know would be Trustee Kirkman. But just want to bring that clarification around there as well. I saw that when we uploaded the board packet, and I was like, oh, and then I thought it might be too late to ask them to kind of get us a new one. But if we don't, we can always punt that to next month and have them resend us a new one as well and have the name corrected if we'd like. But I think that's the most information I could give. I can try to answer other questions. We asked if Idaho Arts could be here tonight, but they actually had their school board meeting tonight as well. And so they weren't able to double it. But there's questions, we could always send those to them and have them try to come another month if that would be best for the board.
I have a couple of
Trustee Benz.
So the first question that I have is a practical question. If we move to approve the charter, even though it cannot be signed because the wrong name is there for the board chair, would that just be considered like a clerical correction?
Chair Kirkman, Trustee Benz, that would be my hope.
Okay.
We'd make the motion to ensure that it's signed by the correct person and be clerical.
Okay. And then the other question is, Is there, so it sounds as though the Idaho Arts Charter and Nampa School District's relationship is not as intertwined as it used to be. Is there a process for separating them, for them becoming their own independent entity, no longer requiring authorization from the Nampa School Board? And what would that look like? And what is that something that is currently under consideration by Nampa Arts
Yeah.
Charter? Okay.
Chair Kirkman, Trustee Benz, great question. So there is a process that Idaho Arts could consider, which would be go through the Idaho Charter Commission. And I believe at some point they would have that discussion. It could go a couple of ways. One is the Nampa School Board could initiate that, could initiate a letter to their board saying that we would in some fashion like you to consider that for your next authorization. Or they could do that on their own. So the district used to have 3 charters we authorized: Gym Prep, Pathways, and Idaho Arts. A couple years ago, Gym Prep decided to send the school board a letter, or send us a letter saying that they are going to the Charter Commission and that they're no longer authorized by us. So it can go both ways. We could start that conversation with them. They could respond and say, no, we'd like to stay and have you as an authorizer. They could say, okay, we'll go to the Charter Commission. Or they could start that and send a letter just like Gym Prep did and say, we're considered going to the commission as well. So it could go a little bit of either way. The process, I don't know a lot about the Charter Commission, quite honestly. I just don't follow charter law all that much and charter processes all that much. So I could reach out to Mr. Burke and ask further. He said it would take probably a little time for them to be able to do that. But if their authorization is signed now, that would give them time before their next authorization came up. So he felt like if they could get that approved, he'd like to get that approved now. And they could look at that in the future, possibly. But I think it'd be dependent on their discussions and then what our discussions would be.
Okay, so authorizing it then now would not impede that decision if they decided to go that way, wouldn't bind them in any way.
Yeah, Chair Kirkman, Trustee Benz, that is correct. I think just signing it now is more of a kind of a crossing the I's and dotting your I's, crossing your T's.
Dr. Russell, did you notice that the term of the agreement was until 2037?
Chair Kirkman, it is, and I believe that's because that new law for the 12-year period. So it'd be a long time before the school board would have to consider doing that.
Can that be adjusted, Dr. Russell, by the school board, by this board?
Chair Kirkman, I believe you could make edits and send that back to them and say you'd like a sooner time. I don't see why you couldn't.
So
but I'm not a lawyer, so that's a good question.
Yeah, I was a lawyer. I don't, trustees, this is my opinion on this. I would just rather, and I get that they're having a board meeting, but I would have liked to have talked to Idaho Arts Charter here and asked them some questions, but I just don't see why we keep doing this.
Especially for 12 years.
Yeah, for 12 years. Now, when you read through this, there are some responsibilities that we have to do site, things like that, to check, I guess, just kind of generally check on them and make sure that they're not running rogue. But we got enough things to worry about here.
And Chair Kirkman, you can also charge an authorizer fee. And I didn't see that anywhere.
Is it unlimited fee?
I don't
We can
know.
charge as much as we want?
I don't know the law that well, but I know that I didn't see a fee structure in here.
Yeah, and I get why there's, back when it started, I understand that it was, it was good neighbor, that the Idaho Charter Commission wasn't really in place. It was all new. But man, we're far enough down this road that honestly, I think we just get rid of it. I'm sorry, that sounds bad, but yeah, cut ties. And we could wait till next month, maybe just table this, wait till next month and talk to Idaho Arts and ask some questions too. Unless they have another board meeting scheduled at the same time we do. I don't know. That's my opinion. I think we just we don't go another 12 years and we just say, hey.
This seems like an awful long time.
Yeah.
And just being at the convention with other charter schools, that they are at the table similar to what we are.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's, for us to have oversight over them
Doesn't make
isn't necessary really at this point, it seems like in this state.
And if they have their own board, hence why the board meeting conflict.
I know.
It
It's just,
seemed duplicative, yeah.
I always think of like legalities, like what would happen at Idaho Charts, the one that we authorized. I mean, what are we on the hook for? I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm not an attorney, but my mind always goes there.
Chair Kirkman, we've had some letters that have came around some personnel issues that they've had, and they've included us, and we've had to send them, well, we really don't have any
Yeah.
oversight or any of that. We got to send them back. So I mean, there's a little bit that we receive. It's not very often that we get involved with that, but it is complicated because they see that the school board authorizes, and what does that truly mean?
Yeah, no, they're operating as well as though they're their own anyways. So we could table this to next month and invite the Idaho Arts Charter superintendent, is that, or director?
Director.
Yeah, director and a couple other staff, and we could ask some questions at that time and then make the decision, or we could make a decision tonight. It's whatever this board would like to do.
I'd like to hear from them.
Okay,
I think that'd be good.
all right.
So, I move that we table the discussion on the Idaho Arts Charter School Performance Certificate until next month, when we can have a representative from that school here to discuss it in more detail.
So to the next regular board meeting?
Yeah, next regular board meeting. Thank you.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Dr. Russell, we'll jump right into the next item on.
Chair Kirkman, trustees, next action item has to do some approval of some new course requests. I'm going to have Director Gomez come and share some information about those, and Bill happy to answer any questions that you may have on that.
Chair Kirkman, Board of Trustees, in your packet, you have some information about new courses. These courses have been requested by teachers and then have gone through their admin. And then we have a small committee that's made up of administrators that have reviewed all of the applications. Teachers have to submit course overview documents to show what they'll be using. There's 5 courses. There's a podcasting course, hospitality management, ISAP prep, ancient civilizations, an AP prep course, and traditional folk art that the committee is recommending for approval. Yes.
So I have a question about the hospitality management course. Do we currently not have a hospitality management CTE program?
I don't believe that we do.
Okay. And, okay, so this would be implementing an entirely new certification pathway for students. Yes?
I'm going to ask Director Luber. It's just a course. That's what I thought too. I was kind of thrown by the capstone in the course description. So I asked him a little bit ago, do we have a
Okay.
pathway? And he said, it's just the course.
Okay.
You are correct.
Ditto.
Chair Kirkman, trustees, these courses are, quite honestly, they're not actually approved courses yet that we are necessarily developing pathways or even students enrolling. The purpose of this is to bring courses that we can then put in the course catalog for students to select to see if that starts to drive demand for creating these pathways. I could see the issue with hospitality and where that's going when we're hearing things in our economy and things there, that could become a pathway. But again, this intro course of getting into that and having that as a standalone elective would start to open up that for us to determine, is this something we need to develop more based off student demand? So again, it's not we're creating the course and students have to go to automatically into that. We're giving these options for kids to delve into. Do I want to take that, so we can develop it based off of that? So.
Okay, and then I guess the follow-up question is, if this winds up simply being a standalone course, does this connect to any other existing pathways? Okay.
Not currently, it does not. And again, what we do with a lot of those is to put that out there to see what that demand would be to grow. The idea of starting with the intro and then going up, that would be if there's a groundswell of demand already there. It's not, so we want to have an elective course open for students to be able to say, I'd like to take this elective and see if that gains traction. I can use an example. When I was a teacher,
we developed a psychology course at Columbia. And that idea was the first year I had one section that students signed up and wanted to. And then as we built demand for that, we started to develop more of a program around that. That's what that particular course would be on the hospitality side, again, to see if it's there. If we put it on in the course catalog and it becomes something that is not requested by students, we wouldn't keep offering that until the demand for that would come along. And we wouldn't develop a full program or pathway until we have that demand for the program. So,
Trustee Barnes.
So if we approve any of these tonight, I mean, where does the expense lie with them? And do you already have, how would you fulfill teachers and stuff before you put it on even though, what if nobody signs up for it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we wouldn't necessarily fulfill with teachers. We would make sure, again, we do course requesting before we enter the hiring season. So if we had a course that required a specific certification and nobody signed up for that course, we wouldn't go looking for that certification. Very likely someone in our system already has the certification or has a certification that could teach this course. So that's something that we would offer and be able to do that. And again, with where they're course dependent as a specific course, that's not going to be a full teaching load by any means. It's going to be, okay, is this an elective that they also have other certifications or other things that employee does? When we're doing the scheduling dynamic, again, we gather all those course requests and then we build around that. So if there were 12 kids that signed up for that course, it would likely not be offered. If there are 80 kids who sign up, then we would probably say, hey, we should look at offering a section or two of this as we map it out to see what the success of that course is, as we drive into new areas and new demand. That's one of the dynamic things with our CTE courses we're seeing is there are other pathways that are coming along that weren't there 10 years ago. And there are pathways that we're really excited about 10 years ago that are no longer in demand. And we need to get to a spot where we're responsive to what that demand or possibility can be to give students an opportunity to sign up for that course. And then we can develop our schedules on that. So to your question, Trustee Behrens, there is no financial implication yet. What we would use is our general FTE model and determine, hey, if I've got a number of kids to do this, do we have enough kids to say we should take a portion of FTE to cover that section or sections for that? That's how we navigate that.
Thank you.
You know, and in today's world, it's competitive. I mean, we're competing with Nampa School District, competing with the private charters and all that other kind of stuff. So I really like seeing these different, and man, these are different. Hospitality management and ancient civilizations. I mean, that's like one end to the other. But the hospitality management, I just wonder if there's that opportunity to even partner with CWI and however that whole thing plays out, and the Idaho Center and all that. What real world experience that our students in the Nampa School District could get possibly through that. So I really appreciate you guys, this committee looking at all and podcasting. Everyone's a podcaster. Might as well teach them how to do it. So this is great.
Chair Kirkman, I think that speaks to what Mr. Yarbrough was saying about the demand switches. And so at one time there was a broadcasting pathway that we no longer offer. I think it was more centered on like television, but podcasting is becoming popular, and a lot of people, or has been popular, and a lot of people get their news and information from podcasts. And so it's not a pathway yet either, but we'll see how the demand goes.
I'm not so sure about the ISAP prep, but we'll see how that goes.
Right. In terms of cost, I'm glad Mr. Yarbrough spoke to the FTE portion of that. Regarding curriculum, 3 of the courses would be using existing curriculum. 2 of them we would have to go through a curriculum adoption for, the hospitality management and the podcasting one. And so we don't have that on the schedule yet. There would be a cost for the curriculum for those courses, but then, we know with the shift to gradient, that is saving us some money there. And so we can shift resources to other areas where we can give kids additional experiences and opportunities.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate that you guys looking outside that. It's hard to say we have to be competitive. Yeah. But we have to be competitive. And so I appreciate that.
Where is the existing curriculum? Where does that come from?
Traditional folk art is mostly built around supplies and materials and resources they have. Ancient civilizations would be using a text called World Civilization that we already use. And so they would just implement that resource into that class. And then ISAP prep would be using existing curriculum and then resources from the State Department's website to help prep students.
Cool. Any other questions, trustees? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the new courses as recommended by the new course request review committee.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, our next item on the agenda is information item. I'm surprised we're here already. It's only 6:30. So Idaho, or information items and reports. So Dr. Russell, you want to take these and we'll
Sure.
just run down the list? And
Yeah, Chair Kirkman, trustees, first item, just wanted to share the election results from our November 4th election. So in Zone 3, Trustee Behrens was reelected.
Congratulations. Did you run unopposed?
I did. I wasn't even on the
so-
ballot.
Oh,
I went to vote. I'm like, oh my
son of a
God,
gun.
he's there.
That's a good feeling. That's a
Yeah.
good feeling.
Zone 4, Trustee Taylor was elected at that zone. And Trustee Zone 5 would be elected was Laura Lynn Salinas. And, so just want to thank all those that put their names in, are willing to serve, even those that weren't elected. Just, they're willing to put your name up
Yeah.
for service and serve the community, serve the children of our district. Greatly appreciate all those folks because as you all know, it takes a great deal.
Yep, you got to be dedicated to it. No, congratulations to our new trustees and our new board will be sat, may not be the right grammar. Our new board will be sat in the January regular board meeting. And that's the official business. Is that what they call it? The business board meeting? for the year?
Organizational meeting.
Organizational meeting. Yeah, that's right. So that will be, what's the date on that? You have it on top of your, no, don't worry
I
about
believe
it.
it's January 21st.
Somewhere around 21st, 22nd.
And it's a Tuesday.
Yeah. Oh, Tuesday. Okay. And all right. And that's when the new trustees will be sworn in and a new leadership, chair and vice chair and all that. Okay. Thanks, Dr. Russell.
Yep. Chair Kirkman, trustees, next on information item has to do with our graduation requirement committee update. I'm going to have Mr. Yarborough come and just share how where the work is with that and be able to answer any questions that you may have.
Sure. Kirkman, trustees, thanks again. This is the second just verbal informational update. Remember, I brought this to you last month. There were a number of changes at the state level for state graduation requirements. We have had a committee that's been meeting for, I believe, 7 meetings now. I was not able to make the last meeting. I was up at ISBA, but Mr. LeBou handled that for me along with Ms. Gomez, and they did a great job. And that committee has been really, really doing a lot of hard work. We are almost finalizing a recommendation to bring to the board. What our plan is now, we will be meeting again this Thursday. And then the week after Thanksgiving, we're going to be bringing some parents in to look at the recommendation and give us some input. Again, as I mentioned last time, we didn't want to bring parents in with some of the things that were just directed by the state, but we want to get some feedback, particularly on number of courses that we're going to ask for our graduation requirements to meet. When I say number of courses, how those fall down into number of electives and maybe a couple changes on number of requirements in core content. We are getting close to that. Again, we'll have that for you. I do want to give the board a little bit of notice. Our normal timeline to get recommendations, things to you, we'd like to get those to you earlier. Based off our timeline of when we're meeting, we might be meeting later that week. So I will follow up with all the communication with Kirk Lamont and with you, but we might get the recommendation to you just a little bit later. I would like to remind you again, though, that many of these are state requirements. We're just incorporating how we will do those and want to have that for board consideration. Again, the committee's done a lot of great work. We've got a lot of really intelligent folks having some good conversations around that. And I think we're going to land on a really good spot for our students to raise the level of access to some of the electives and things that we have, and also still support them in their learning while meeting state requirements and adjusting our number of credits kind of along with our schedule as well. So there will be some balancing there, but we'll be bringing that to you in December, hopefully for action on that night. And then we can tier that in. One last reminder as well, it will be a tiered process over time. A lot of these requirements are for the class of 2028. So there will be kind of a tiered impact of how we add on some of the courses or some of the things that happen and how we navigate the next 2 graduating classes, the class of 26 and class of 27. And we'll have some guidance for you when we produce that recommendation. So any questions?
Any questions, trustees? Thank you.
My goal is it's not out of the blue when we come to you next month. So I think it'll be on the radar. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Early literature plan.
Yeah, Chair Kirkman, trustees, next item on our information has to do with our literature plan This was originally part of the continuous improvement plan that the board approved, a couple months ago. The state pulled this out, but we thought it'd be important just to kind of update the board of where we are with our literature and what we do around our literature instruction in our schools. So we have our guest today is going to share. Tammy's kind enough to come and tell us a little bit about that plan and present what it is. We're also going to talk a little bit around the new test requirement from the state with Amira, which is our new Idaho Reading Indicator test, and give you an update about how that's going and allow you to ask any questions we may have around that. I know there was a comment around Trustee Barron's around student achievement. And so this might be something that the board may be interested in as you learn a little bit more about our literacy and what instruction that we do in that. So turn it over to Ms. Sullivan and kind of go from there.
All right, thank you. Chair Kirkman and trustees, like Dr. Russell said, I'm Tammy Steffen, and I have the honor of working with our kindergarten through 5th grade as our district instructional specialist. So literacy is my passion, so I'm happy to be here tonight to talk to you about literacy. So as Dr. Russell said, we are required to have a literacy intervention plan every year, and it needs to align with the Idaho Comprehensive Literacy Plan. And so in your board packet, you did receive our plan that we are bringing forth to you. That plan outlines the development of literacy. So literacy is a complex task that our students undertake. So we look at language comprehension skills, so background knowledge, vocabulary, language structures, verbal reasoning, and then we also look at word recognition. So phonics, phonological awareness, all of those things have to come together for us to be fluent readers and to comprehend. So in the comprehensive plan, there are stakeholders that are outlined. And as you can see, the district schools and classrooms is the area we're going to look at tonight. But each of those areas in the plan have components that they're responsible for. There's 4 elements. There's collaborative leadership, assessment and data, developing professional educators, and effective instruction and interventions. So your job, as outlined in the plan, is school boards and superintendents are to establish a district-wide commitment to literacy. And then our district leadership, our role is to provide time for our PLCs to strengthen effective reading interventions through classroom observations, research-based interventions, professional development. And then we also analyze our IRI data, the Idaho Reading Indicator, the K-3 assessment that we take in our state. We look at that data together at least 3 times a year.
Stefan, could you just, for clarity, what is a PLC, just for people watching, what does that mean really?
Yes, so our professional learning community, so our grade level teams that are teaching common subjects. In elementary, it's mostly like 4th grade teachers get together, discuss and plan what their next unit of study is going to be. What does the assessment look like? How are we going to get our kids there? And then we have a common assessment and we look at that at the end and see how did our kids do? Did we meet it or did we not? And then we plan from there. So another element is developing professional educators. So we are required, this is what the state says, that we have to provide a comprehensive professional development plan that aligns with the science of reading. And we have to include our district and school administrators in that professional development, teachers, paraprofessionals, library staff, anyone that works with our kids in a reading intervention capacity. So when you hear the science of reading, it's a buzzword that you probably have heard. What the science of reading is, it's 50 plus years of scientific research. It's not a program. It's not an intervention. It's approach to teaching the big 5 areas of literacy. It's not just about phonics. It also is ever changing. So just like with any science, we're constantly learning new things. So it's always evolving. So our plan, again, through our PLCs, those professional learning communities, is through teacher collaboration, work together with our admin and our instructional coaches that we have at every building. And then we also develop their knowledge through something we called our early literacy labs. So we work with PLC teams around a small subject of reading, increase their knowledge around that, and then how does it align with our curriculum? Also, another element is effective instruction and interventions. So the state requires that we implement a focused multi-tiered system of support. So that basically means we provide interventions or instruction for students who might be below grade level, who are on grade level, and we also try to challenge those kids who are above grade level. But we really have to make sure that our reading intervention plans for those that are below grade level are working. So our plan, we ensure that we have effective core instruction with our Into Reading HMH curriculum that y'all approved a couple years ago. We also implement a system of targeted interventions for what we call Tier 2 and Tier 3, so kiddos who are below grade level. We also monitor that program. Is it working? So after they're in the intervention for a couple weeks, we give them a little assessment. Is what we're doing working? And we'll continue if it is. We might have to change course if it's not. And then we also make sure we collaborate that information with families. So assessment data is another element. We are required to have a comprehensive assessment system. And so we have a screening tool that we use. And then from that screening tool, we look at further levels of where the kids have strengths and maybe where they have weaknesses if they're not at grade level. Again, do those quick checks, call them progress monitoring to see if what we're doing is working. And then we have our final summative assessments. So our plan, we use a MIRA, which Dr. Russell spoke of earlier. We're going to get into that a little bit more here in a second. We also administer Nampa School District diagnostic assessments. So the screener is just saying, is something wrong? Kind of like a blood pressure at the doctor. And then the diagnostic is like the blood work, what's actually not working here. We create intervention plans that we share with our parents. And then we progress monitor those plans. For parents, we do this several ways. One of them is a formal parent letter that they get at conference time. So teachers share their screening data with any student who is not proficient. We share with them what we're going to do at school, and then we also share some ideas of things they can do at home.
I think, Ms. Stefan, I think what's nice about that letter is it does kind of show the 5 areas of literacy that we really try to focus on. So we try to make that clear for the parents to understand that these are the instruction main areas that we're going to try to hit your child in and where they are and how we're going to try to support them in that instruction.
So our Idaho Reading Indicator data from 24-25, you can see we outgrew the state in every grade level. So we're very excited with those results.
Yeah, I'm going to stop in right there again. That's amazing. We outgrew the state. So just kudos to our teaching staff. Incredible work they do to put in all the hours. And it's just amazing. I know that's one of the best scores we've had in a long, long time. Credit to their work.
Yes, we're very excited with this, especially second grade. You can see here that we not only outgrew the state in growth, but our percent proficient, we beat the state. So we were 69.4% proficient in second grade, and the state was 69%. So that's very exciting. This is, I should point out, for continuously enrolled students. So that means any student who enrolled in our district within the first 56 calendar days and then was here with us at the end for our spring assessment. Ooh, so looking just a little bit further at that, this graph charts our growth in a single year. So notice that we start lower than the state in every grade. For example, we started at 35.8% proficient in kinder, and the state started at 53%. So that we start 17.2% lower than the rest. But we actually ended only 3.8% behind the state average. So kudos to those teachers. We increased overall 19.3% in proficiency, and the state just hit 12.2%. which left us just 2.2% lower than the state overall average, which of course our goal is to hit and exceed that eventually. Again, this is our continuously enrolled students, so this is different than what's going to show up on the state report card, but it is what the state looks at for all of our accountability measures. So the state changed who they are partnering with every. Oh, sorry.
Stefan, sorry, Mr. Trustee Benz has a question.
Could you explain what we will see on that report card then, if this is going to be different than what's on there? What will we see and why? What makes that difference?
Just the continuously enrolled population. So you'll just see all the kiddos who took that end of the year assessment, and also some of our students who possibly took it, our EL students that actually don't need to take it, some of them. So it's not clean data, or it's not kids that we had the opportunity to instruct for multiple months.
And then, sorry, another question. And this is just for the benefit of people who don't live in this stuff.
Yes.
So why is it say, what is the, so this is what we're evaluated off of for like our certification purposes. So we're not in ISAT jail, right? This is the evaluation for, we're not in ISAT jail. But so why is the report card different? What is the purpose of the report card that we get from the state?
I'm going to refer to Dr. Russell on that one.
So Trustee Benz, if you could clarify kind of what question are you asking here?
So this is the stuff that goes to the state that we're used
Correct.
for our evaluation, but the report card that is published by the state is what goes to the public, correct? And the report card for our school is going to have different metrics, or for our district, it's going to have different metrics than what we're actually judged.
Or different results. Is it
Yeah, this
different results or different metrics?
Different metrics. It's a different population that we're using to measure both of them. So it's everybody and their dog on the one that's published to the public that shows whether or not we're
And this is continuously enrolled.
correct. So these are the kids that we actually touch. These are the kids we actually have enough time.
So
to
aren't
work
these
with.
better, for those who don't live in this all the time, isn't this
Yeah,
better?
yeah. But
Isn't
this
this
is
what
not-
we want the Department of Education to report out?
But this is also
But they
what
don't.
we would want the public to know,
Yeah,
in my
exactly.
opinion.
Exactly. Well, that's what I'm
But-
saying.
Yeah, I think Chair Kirk, Trustee Benz, what you pointed out sometimes is the confusingness of what school data is. A graduation requirement's a great one as well. When you see graduation requirement, they only look at it a very specific way. We do that, not just 2 crosses or not the 6-year. So the data sometimes that you see that's published publicly and what actually happens in the district, there is some disconnect sometimes with it. And it's the reality of what we got to report and what is reported out on.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
But we can report these out on our website. Can't we?
Yeah, and Trustee Kirk, I think that's one of the reasons we wanted to share that was because of our IRI scores and how high they were last year. And it's the highest we had in our district, and the work that our staff did, and just really celebrate the work
Certainly
of those and the kids and the parents that supported them, and incredible what they did last year, particularly on the change of the 4-day. That was our first year in the 4-day, and we wondered about our achievement, what would happen on that achievement, and we increased.
That is. Thank you so much for bringing this. I know you're not done yet, but it's just because that really does hit, because that's one thing that we talked a lot about going to a 4-day week is what will that look like? And these numbers are just, they're incredible. So I'd splash them all over our website, make sure people see that they see that there is success and that these scores are going up and it's working. So anyways, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, thank you.
I get excited about all the good numbers.
So we are very excited about those results. We are a little unsure of what they're going to look like this year because the state partnered with a different platform. So every few years they have to review, and they picked a new platform. So the test basically has changed. It's still testing literacy, but Amira is our new assessment. And so it is different from the traditional iStation or tests that we took in previous years, in that Amira is primarily voice-based and AI-driven. And the ISIP was primarily click-based and ASR-driven, so automatic speech recognition, which I'm not a guru on those things, but I know the AI driven using reading error detection. So it listens to the kids and it knows what typical errors they might make. So it's listening for that, where the old ISIP was listening for the correct answers in automatic speech recognition. So different assessment. The fall, we compared how we did with the state. So iStation last year, fall 2024, the state came in at 59% proficient and we were 50%. So this year, the state is at 54% and we're at 44%. So we're pretty close. State down 5%, we're down 6%. So how that plays out, we don't know. We do need to set some goals in the coming weeks and months around what is our goal for spring of 2026. And I know that you'll all be working through that soon. So we're hoping that we can beat the state for sure. Yes.
Sorry, I have some practical questions about the difference, because that's a significant difference between those two tests. And so normally when they switched the new ISAT model, they provided practice tests and things that wound up sometimes and sometimes not really aligning with the actual format that students experienced. Since this is primarily a verbal test, is it, okay, trying to think of the best way to formulate this. In terms of, is it that the computer is listening to students read and assessing their prosody and other things? Or is it that there are oral prompts provided to the students that they then have to translate into writing of some kind? Or is it oral and oral, or how? And if it is, I mean, every kids who are in the early stages of education are also in various stages of speech development, the actual formation of the sounds. And so is there the opportunity for the AI to train on that student's unique pronunciation of those words so that there aren't accidental errors? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay.
So we're learning a lot still.
Okay.
We've only taken it 3 times, and the state is consistently working with us to train us as well on this. There is no writing portion, so it is mostly all auditory.
Okay.
There are a couple subtests where students will click on a correct answer, but mostly it's all they're reading or they're producing sounds.
Okay.
The assessment does give, before every little subtest, an example of what the test is going to do.
Okay.
So they'll explain the subtest and then they'll show an example, and then they have the student perform whatever that subtest is. As far as the speech recognition, they've said that if a human can understand the student, that the AI can also understand the student. And so far, we believe it's on track, but we do have some kiddos with speech issues that we're watching closely. It will flag that if it doesn't understand the student to reassess, and then the AI will try to reassess it. But also they do have humans that work for them, and so it can go to a human to listen to the passage and then score it as well. But it can also get kicked back to us to have the student try again.
Okay, I'm just concerned, particularly, for example, we may have students who are ELL, who are legitimately reading what is in front of them, but the sounds that those letters make are not what the computer may be expecting. So like read, that type of. Anyway.
Yes. So we are being cautious. We are using not just this assessment, but also those diagnostic assessments we give and our teacher knowledge to kind of triangulate that data, not just use one assessment point. On a couple of the assessments, they're recorded so the teacher can go back in and listen and see what errors they made. And during non-state testing months, so not in October and not in May, we can actually go in and say, no, that was correct. That's how they actually read it.
Okay.
Chair Kirkman, Trustee Benz, the question you're bringing up around the newness of the test, the AI version of the test, does it understand the kids, EL students, all of that is still some unknowns. It's why we wanted to wait a little bit before we set our goals so we can kind of get an idea where we are. This is where we came in the fall. We have seen some really good growth the last couple of months. I know Director Knopp came in my office this morning and just shared we are on target almost where we were exactly last year at this time. Now we grew every month going into the spring, which led to those really successful results that we saw in April and May. So we're optimistic with that, but again, the newness of the test, we're not sure, and we'll have to talk around goals, and then that might be something, again, the board wants to consider. Is that something we monitor around student achievement? So it's something to think through.
I know they did there was some conversations online about, parent A with child A and their efficiency scores from last year to this year with the new system. And anybody that uses Google Talk to Text knows it doesn't pick up everything accurately all the time. So they, like we're saying, they could be pronouncing it correctly, but the way we talk in Idaho is different from Louisiana, is different from Boston. And so they might not be catching exactly what we're saying.
Yep.
True. Any other questions?
Yeah, I want to backtrack a few slides here. Kind of a weird question, but I want to ask it anyways. Back on slide number 7, it's collaborative leadership. School boards and superintendents establish a district-wide commitment to literacy. My question to you is there anything from this board, or is there anything that you've noticed where we haven't demonstrated commitment to literacy? And if so, is there something else that we need to do? I mean, what do we need to do to support you, if anything, in continued success?
No, I would just say celebrate our wins, share our Idaho reading indicator results, be champions for that, and just supporting, like when we purchased our new curriculum, that was great. That structural literacy component, just time to do professional development is important. So appreciate all that you have done and hopefully continue to do.
I think sometimes this question doesn't get asked enough from the board.
Chair Kirkman, just trustees, there's a couple things you've done as well. So I would agree. I think the curriculum was really important, adopting a curriculum that has the key components to literacy and having a process to do that. You had a committee that did that and got the community input. Also supporting the finances of the district and the levy. I mean, the levy is a huge part of what we do here because that provides us with the staffing to be able to provide those small groups and the smaller class sizes that makes an impact of the kids' learning. The other thing the board has really allowed us to do was provide more supports in the schools. You remember a couple of years ago, the behaviors that came, where teachers were coming here and talking, we need more support, we need some more support. And what it's able to do is when we're able to get those behaviors under control, we're able to focus on the instruction. So I think this is kind of fruits of all those labors coming out a couple of years later is why we're able to see some improvement. So I think the board's done a really nice job of supporting the teachers and the staff with the things that they need to be able to get the results that we have.
Good. It's good to hear that feedback. All right. Thank you very much. Any other questions? Comments?
Well done.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And all your efforts. It's great. Okay, Dr. Russell.
Yeah, Chair Kirkman, trustees, coming up next, some updates. And we'll have our first one around our curriculum adoption update, and Director Gomez will share some information on that. And then we'll move into transportation update with Mr. Stauffer.
Chair Kirkman, will I be out of order if I say something about the early
No, not
early
at all.
literacy? Okay. Tammy's on my staff. She's fantastic. She was serving K-12 ELA last year, and we were, like Dr. Russell mentioned, able to add a position to support 6-12 ELA, which has been critical for our ELA implementation. And our district staff, Director Knopp and Director LeBou, both advocated for that, for Tammy also to have some more time to focus on early literacy. So this year she's out working with teams of teachers. She was doing the best she could last year, but I think at the end of this year, she'll have worked with almost every grade level in a small group, a setting with those teachers on best early literacy practices. And she's very knowledgeable. So I'm really hopeful that we'll continue to see good results based on some of those changes.
Well, you would have been out of order had you not commented on that. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, she's done fantastic work.
Good.
Okay, so I'm here to talk about the adoption update. We are currently in an adoption process for dual credit math and an elementary science resource. I had originally said that we'd be looking, in addition to the other courses, at an AP computer science curriculum. But after doing some digging and talking with that teacher, we learned that that teacher was paid by BSU to create the curriculum for that course, and it is dictated by the university. And our policy, we have a policy that states that when that happens, then we use that curriculum. And so he has said that if he were to retire, he would still make that curriculum accessible because he doesn't own it. He was paid to do it for the class. So there would be some continuity with that curriculum. So I just wanted to give an update that that's no longer a course we will be adopting for. So our committee has met a few times, and they have a list of curriculum suggestions, which will be on the next slide. They finalized their rubric. We did make an open house change for this one. That one will occur in December. They just needed some more time. On the next slide is our curriculum finalists. So as a reminder, we're looking at financial algebra. There's one in yellow because the committee members can add additional curriculum resources beyond the community survey. And so after doing some digging and looking at additional resources, they found another one. There had only been one proposed for that financial algebra course, so it'll be good to look at two for that one. We're also looking at pre-calculus. We have mathematic and Cengage texts for that. Calculus, we have mathematic and Cengage, and then statistics books also. Yes.
I have a quick question. Since the second two pre-calculus proposed materials are both by the same publisher, one is 8th edition, and the other one doesn't have, would those be used in conjunction with each other? Is it an either or? And if it's 8th edition, is there a 9th that we need to worry about?
Possibly. And so
Okay.
that is one of the things that they found that we are currently using. I think it's for calculus, a really old edition, and they have additional resources that have been added to those. And so we are on an 8 to 9 year cycle. So that is a concern. To your first question, Chair Kirkman, sorry, I forget sometimes, Trustee Benz, we want to make the best decision for our students. And so it is possible that we may look at a couple of resources. Like there's some on the committee that really like mathematic from what they've seen, and it could help complement the other one. Again, when we talk about the gradient and the flexibility that will allow us, we might be able to purchase two if we really feel like this course could use two. So they're going to look at them all and try to make the best decision. So that could happen.
Okay. Well, I'm just wondering, I guess I didn't articulate, I don't know if I was clear. So so it looks like it's the same for the pre-calculus, the calculus, and the statistics. They're two options from the same publisher in each one of those. Are these concurrent publications? So they both exist, they're both published at the same time? Or is one an older publication that may be sunsetting soon and the other one is the newer? Or do these two resources complement each other since they're from the same publisher, or are they completely separate entities?
Yeah, so right now we're really early in the process, and so I'm not sure on that. We do have publishers scheduled to come out, and so we will ask those questions. As of right now, I believe they're all different resources.
Okay. And they're all contemporary, they're all up to, okay.
Yes, yeah, we'll buy the newest edition and we'll ask. I think that's a really great question. Is this about, and they'll tell us too. Like this is phasing out, or we'll have it for a while. So those will be all questions that we ask when we meet with them.
Thank you.
Yes. So for elementary science, the committee met, they reviewed the list of suggested curriculum resources from our teacher community survey, and they began screening the resources. I turn in these documents a week ahead of time, and then they met the next day. So at the bottom, that's the finalists that were screened that we found out the day after I submitted. So our finalists are Generation Genius, Mystery Science, and Picture Perfect Science. And that open house is currently open right now. Some advertisements went out through Parent Square. And then just a reminder of the timeline. We selected the committee in October. They've been meeting and they'll continue to meet through December. And then we may have a meeting in January, just depending how much time they feel like they need. And then in January, we'll come back with a recommendation to the board for both of these. Any
Questions?
questions?
Oh, sounded like you had a question. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Thank
Okay,
you so much. Appreciate it.
Chair Kirkman, trustees, next up is our transportation update, and then we'll just have Mr. Stoffer stay for the facilities update as well
Okay,
to help with efficiency.
that makes sense.
Chair Kirkman, Dr. Russell, thank you for that efficiency component. Getting up and down is sometimes too much fun. And
More
I'm
efficient
getting
would be
older.
right at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Right after the flag.
That,
right
that
after
would
we
be
do the
great.
flag.
No. Again, appreciate this time. Just wanted to come with the transportation update. The good news is things are still moving well. We did do the implementation of the RFID cards at the high school level and in the middle school level starting last Monday. We've had some good success with it. Again, as the week went on, it got better, just as the people are getting acclimated to the usage of the RFID cards. So today we're in day 5 was today. So still in the infancies, but it is showing really strong movement towards what we wanted to see. Again, we have a couple of things that are still working on that have to deal with just helping kids understand to have their cards and how to use them, which is not difficult, but we do have riders that only ride certain days. And so as we're catching those throughout the week, we're working with those. We do have a couple of driver tablet issues that we've identified and been able to work through as well. So nothing that we didn't anticipate at this point in time. So the rollout has been as we thought it would be.
And all the technology is working and all right.
We do have some of those, like I mentioned, some tablet glitches are here, but
most of it's user
most of
error.
it is working the way that we have anticipated. Again, these are some of the things that we thought might happen as we saw this very similar rollout with the elementary when we did that prior. We did see that there were some tablet issues that we had to navigate through, so we're working through those. But again, the numbers look really impressive. We did have over 4,000 kids on both the morning and afternoon that were using the RFID cards. We transport roughly about 5,000, 45 to 5,000. So we had 4,200 on our high day of RFID cards. So our efficiency level is pretty high.
Good deal. Questions?
So what does happen if they lose their card, they leave it at home? What happens when they get to the bus?
Yeah, so none of the students are denied transportation. So at the bus level, the operator, the driver has the tablet that they just add the student onto the bus. Now, in that case, for some of those, they don't have the full listing of the kid's name, but they do add it for tracking purposes. But we don't deny kids transportation. What it really does is it hones in on the parent app, the parent being able to see the students on the bus and where that bus is located. So that's part of those safety measures that we included and wanted to have a better accounting of where our kids were. So that's really what it does. But we do not deny kids access to the buses. We are definitely trying to help them. Now, to your question, if they lost it, it's the same thing as if they would have lost their ID card prior. The process is exactly the same. It's just we're probably more aware of it because they have to use it at their bus. But if they use it for lunch, it's the same card. Everything is the same as they've been using it before. So their practices are definitely the same. We've just added one additional layer that they use it to get on their buses.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else? 2 questions. Is there a larger expense with it being an RFID card in the event that they were to lose them as opposed to their old ID cards?
Trustee Kirkman, Chair Kirkman and Trustee Jennings, the answer is it's the same price. It's $5 for replacement at the secondary level.
Okay. And then do evening athletics use this same service so the parents can track the buses coming home from an area?
Chair Kirkman and Trustee Jennings, the answer is no, they currently do not use it for that purpose. The coaches are responsible for having the list. We did talk about that the last board meeting. It's something that we could explore further in the future, but currently it's not how we have it designated to function.
Would it be necessary or is it just superfluous at this point?
Chair Kirkman, I don't think it's a stretch for us to do it, but I do think, again, we're talking about a smaller group that the coaches have access to, and most of all the parents have the coaches' numbers to be able to call the coach and see where things are at. Again, we're not opposed to looking at it if that's the direction, but from our coaches and from the ADs, that was not something they felt was needed at this point in time.
Okay. Good. All right. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Now on to facilities. As directed last time as we were visiting about the potential request to sell the transition house that we talked about last time, I was asked to get some information on potentially renting this house out instead of selling it. I did do some homework on it. We did find that its market lease value would be about $1,900 a month. That was the rough estimate that we got from a few realtors that were looking at it, and they thought that might be a good leasing component for it. I did visit with our director of federal programs, and in his first reaction is awesome, but I don't want anything to do with it. That was his reaction to it. The component for us, again, is we looked at it. There is some value, again, for having a lease. One of the challenges I think that we do have that all of them brought up are you guys willing to have tenants in there and take care of the damage after tenants leave? That was a consistent message. I did look at it, if we kept it underneath our own umbrella and we were kind of the land property managers, that is something that is probably doable, but we're not necessarily set up to do it, if that makes sense.
Well, we just approved a hospitality management.
Once that is up and involved.
I see an
maybe.
Airbnb coming up.
An
here,
Airbnb.
but,
Oh, boy. So one of I think another particular interesting component to the analysis is that the most likelihood for a leasing of this would most likely be NNU students due to its proximity to the school and its setup. It is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and it does have a converted garage. It's like an office shop space. And so they felt the biggest value that we would get would be more so looking at leasing to college students, which again has different parameters around it and unfortunately has a higher risk value to it as well.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming back with that information, and maybe we're just school district's not in a position to be a landlord.
The mayor's house.
The what?
The mayor's house.
How about the superintendent's house?
Oh,
Get him closer.
get him right here.
Yeah, right on
Keep
the
him
side.
close by.
Yeah, wardens used to live at the prison, so. No, I think that, no, I appreciate the feedback, and I think just looking at the best option is going to be, whether it's to sell it or.
Chair Kirkman, it would be our recommendation that we would put it out for bid. That we've done this process before with the board. It is a blind bid that it goes out. We would look at the results, bring that back to the board from that blind bid. Again, we know the minimum value for the bid has to be what the land is appraised for and the house is appraised for. So we do all that work. We bring it back, and the board would then have the option of accepting that, rejecting it, or having us, if none of the qualifying offers came in at what they need to be, then we could put it out on the open market. So there are a lot of options to the board still. This would be just a process to gain the true interest in it, and then we could probably make a better decision. So if it comes back that nobody does want it, and we still have an option to potentially look at a lease afterwards, if there's no takers or nobody is in the ballpark that we feel that it's valued at.
Who's maintaining it right now?
Right now, we are,
mean-
as far as a district, there's nobody in it.
I know, but how does, is security, does somebody in security walk around it or keep an eye on it? Is it cleaned? Is it maintained, that like leaves out of the gutters, all that kind of stuff?
Chair Kirkman, right now, currently our maintenance department still takes care of it. As far as the mowing and the upkeep of the exterior, that's always been on our grounds team.
Okay.
So they are still doing that. We do, currently, there's been some things that we've been doing it in preparation for it to be sold. So we do have staff in there fairly frequently looking at it and making sure that it's still taken care of. Again, it's one of those things that we would like to take off of our Rolodex if it is the best option for the district, but we'd like to explore it to make sure that that is indeed the best option for the district.
So do you need some direction from us tonight, Greg, on Dr. Russell?
Yeah. Chair Kirkman, trustees, I believe we'll probably come back with a more formal
option
and take a vote on whether that's something you want us to lease on. I think it was just kind of giving you more tonight, an update of some of the requests and what information we have. And now that we know where the board might want to hear some more information on, we can bring that information and allow it to be a formal.
Well, in my opinion, just personally, I think you look for the highest dollar that you can get. I mean, looking at the financial picture today, I think it's just best to get whatever we can, the highest dollar we can get for it. Anyways, and this is something we don't have to take the lowest bid on, huh?
Chair Kirkman, no, it doesn't require a vote, but it just for clarity's sakes, the intent is that we would my understanding is that we would take this out and put it on the market. and
That's just my
solicit it.
opinion. That's just what I think.
Historically, how or why did we acquire that property?
That's a good question. So Vice Chair Jennings, we have had this property for several years. It used to be, going back to what Chair Kirkman mentioned, it used to be our director of maintenance lived in that home, and that was part of their compensation package.
Oh.
And so for many years, that's how it came to be part of the district's portfolio.
Okay.
Over time, that changed, and then it became a multi-use. We used it for several different things, including housing some of our McKinney-Vento. The most recent usage was for our McKinney-Vento program, but again, it wasn't a great facility for them, and so we've been able to use some of our other assets to give them better facilities.
And it is a separate tax parcel from this building and the neighboring property.
Chair Kirkman and Vice Chair Jennings, yes, it is. Yep, it's about a half-acre parcel that sits on its own.
And we don't need it for the office space or anything like that.
Chair Kirkman, no, we assessed for that, and it really, the amount of money that we would need to put into it to make it a viable office space, it does not necessarily, it would change its structure from being a residential home. It would change it significantly. It's been a home, and we kind of put people in it, but it was not a great setting, and it was still a home, but people were using it as office space, as a home. So again, the challenges of it being such a facility for us to upgrade it to meet the needs that we have, and it's not the space is not conducive really to put a ton of people in it.
Chair Kirkman, Trustee Stoffer, or
Nope.
question. Do you, just to clarify the process, what's the next steps with this property?
At this junction, I would like to put it out for the market to bring back the information for the board of what its value is and how much, what people are offering for it, for them to consider it as a potential sell. That would be the next steps.
Do you think you can get that information by next board meeting?
No, it would take us longer than that. That's why I was asking the board for their consideration. We do have specific laws that we have to follow. We have to publish it in a newspaper for 15 days, 2 separate times. Then we have to leave it open for 2 weeks for the blind bids to come in, and then we have the bid opening. So the reality is I won't be able to bring any true information back to you until January with what those values are. I can give you updates in the process.
You know what it's been appraised at?
Yeah, it was appraised over a year ago, so we do need to get appraisal again, but it was appraised over a year ago at $368,000. Meeting with a couple of realtors, they believe that value is holding about $360,000 currently. However, because of the recent trends in the area, the market is coming up a little bit. And so I don't think it'll be significant from that, but I think that is a target for us once we get the official. That's something I will be able to bring back in the next board meeting, is what the official evaluation was, or the assessment of the house was.
Good. Well, 360,000 will go a long ways.
So do we need to give consent to put out the bid?
No, not until he comes back with more information, and then it'll be a board decision on whether to go that route or not.
Okay. Having the appraisal price be public, and we have to simply exceed it by a copper cent, like how is that beneficial to us to get the most bang for our buck?
Chair Kirkman and Trustee Jennings, that's the law. It's just the way that it's written.
It's not a blind bid.
We have to start the blind bid. So that's where we gain, is the blind bid has to start at the appraised value.
Okay.
There can't be a bid that comes in less than that.
Right.
Now, what we've seen 2 different things in the past when we have done this. And we have seen one where we did have somebody that came in at above that value, and they did win that bid. And we've also seen one where they did not, and then we put it back out on the market, and we got the best that we could for the district out of the investment that we had. So we've seen it happen, and we've seen it not happen in the last 2 years.
But we don't have to take the bid.
You do not. As a matter of fact,
there's some safeguards in there.
There's
in this whole
safeguards
process for us that we're not.
The board has multiple.
We're not going to be selling it for $65,000.
Right.
That was the highest bid.
Again, as a reminder, the board always has the option to accept the bid or reject all bids or do nothing.
Okay.
They could say, nope, sorry, we're really not going to sell it. You have that ability.
Very good.
Okay.
Is that it, Mr. Stopper?
No, unfortunately, that was just one
I
of
was
them.
helping you.
I know. We also wanted to come back and just give you a brief updates. On the transportation facility, the bathrooms are in their final inspection, so those will be most likely opening up towards the end of this week. The fuel tank as well is installed and up. They're working on some electrical components and will be finalizing the electrical inspection this week as well. And it will be about a week and a half before it's operational. There's a couple other things that we need to do with it. And when I say operational, it's ready to go. It's turned over to us and we'll fill it. But there's some components that we'll start doing as far as how we're going to do the computer side of things. And so the management of it, that will take a few days to get that up and rolling as well. So we're about fully functional in that capacity, which is really good news. And it's actually lightening some of our load across the district in our maintenance and our transportation department. The last one is just an update on our maintenance shop. They have started clearing that up. We're getting ready now that those other projects are finalizing to start the push for finishing the shop. The shop you'll see will have the exterior go up here fairly soon. Tomorrow we're going to be selecting the siding and all those types of things that go with that as far as the visual component of it. And then we will be moving forward with that. So permits are already moving forward. The architecture's done. So we're just now in those final phases before you actually start seeing things happening on the shop. And that's the update for the transportation facility. Just a few more for you as well. Wanted to make you aware that in the next few months, there will be some RFPs. Those requests for purchasing will be coming as we start looking at some bigger projects that need to be done over the summer. We typically need to do these early so that we have sufficient time to do the bidding process and materials that can be gathered in preparation for our short time frame. These are definitely correlated to roofs. We have 2 roofs that need to be done this summer. One is at West and the other one is at Central. Both of them will be separate projects just because of their dynamic needs. With the West project, we are also doing and looking at a PD center inside the West Learning Center library. So that will be combined with the roof project to be done underneath the same project code. So we'll be bringing those to you with the bids probably in January. We'll give you some more information, but I just wanted to make you aware that it's coming and we'll start having these in preparation for the summer work. And last but not least, just wanted to give you 2 quick updates on some of the good news from the levy, which pertains to the baseball fields. We are moving forward, and I will have for you the next meeting. It came in after the window, but we have the contracts and the renderings for both Columbia and Skyview fields. Been approved by their coaches, and the ADs have all gone through that process. So I'll bring all that information. It just came after the window. Otherwise, I would have had it for you. And I can send that also in an update with Dr. Russell and his Friday as well. But I'll bring it back so that we can have that in our next board meeting in December. Coupled with that will be the lights as well. We do have bids coming in for the lights. The good news is that we have one bid that is well underneath budget, that is highly respected and been spoken of very thoroughly throughout the valley as far as a company that's very well known here in the valley. So we're excited about that, but we're still awaiting one more bid to make sure that we have those. And we're also using the government bidding on both of these contracts. They've already been bid out and been utilized throughout the co-ops that we have here in the state.
When did these bids go public?
So the bids went basically because they're government bids. We have solicited people for their best price based off of the government. So went basically the day after the levy.
That's what
we started asking. Yep. Once the levy passed, the next day. We solicited several entities to provide us their numbers on what it would be for the both fields and for lights. And last but not least, I just wanted to give you an update. We did several months ago. We started working on a potential land swap with the city regarding some properties. One piece that will be coming in front of you next month is that we have worked with the Legion Board to come to an agreement on a lease if the property swap happens. So there's a lot of ifs in this statement. But we did work with them to bring some language of a lease to the board for approval. I am working on a couple of things with our attorney to see if we can make it either just a approval of the language or if the board can approve the lease. So we're still working on trying to navigate that piece. Our hope is that we can present a lease to you that could be executed if the land swap does happen. That's the hope that we have. But there could be some legal thing. There's some legal things that we're working through to try to make that happen. So that's just more of an update that will be coming next month. You'll have it to review as part of your board packet.
Could you remind me again, was it with the American Legion Field, was it the district approached the city or the city approached the district, or did you meet in the middle down at Lakeview Park?
Yeah, Chair Kirkman, it's been an ongoing conversation for years. I know that prior to me being in this position, I know that Randy Dewey had met with the city about it a couple of times. But since I've been in this position, we've had mutual conversations.
But was that us proactively meeting with the city even at that time?
I think there was a little bit, to be honest, you're asking me to speak of something that I wasn't fully a part of. So my understanding is that there was a time that the district did approach the city, but I also recognize that the city has come to us about some of our properties as well. At least that my experience was that the city did talk to us about some properties that we had with some desires and plans that they had.
And that was just part of the conversation.
It was just part of our conversation. It's a conversation that we've had multiple times. It just seemed to have more traction this time.
Okay. Thank you.
Do we have any idea? So you said if the land swap occurs, do we have any idea when we will know if that's going to occur?
Chair Kirkman and Trustee Benz, in conversations with the city, one of their major concerns is that they wanted to make sure that all parties felt that this was something that they could support, either by nature of having agreements into place that would continue the relationships that they currently have. They wanted to make sure that that had been addressed. And so that's what we've been working through in Garner. If we do have those things, and if the board does, and again, there's a lot of if statements in this, if the board does approve the language of the lease for the American Legion facility to American Legion, for the school district, what would be the school district property to the Legion, then the city would take it up and we would be presenting it in January. So, and then in January, at one of their city council meetings, then they would have the opportunity to review it, and then it would come back potentially here to the board. So there could be a lot of back and forth yet. Again, knowing that this board has the ability to accept or reject anything at any point in time.
As well as the city.
As well as the city.
And so the city would need to approve the transfer of land to the school district, but the school district would need to approve the transfer of land to the city. Do those have to occur concurrently? Okay.
I think Trustee Benz, I think you're getting way down the road.
Well, I'm just wondering, like, do we need to, when you bring that language, do we need to say, yeah, going ahead, propose that we give them X parcel of land, and then you have to take it to the city and they have to say, okay, for this parcel of land, then we'll give you this parcel of land. Yeah.
Chair Kirkman and Trustee Benz, the board already authorized a letter that stipulated some of those things. So that letter has already been delivered to the city. And that happened a few months ago that the board authorized that letter to go out with the identified parcels of land, both the city and the district. So we have identified those. However, there's still so many steps that need to go that this is just the beginning of a journey.
Okay.
So there'll be more information coming, but again, the next key component is to have the board review and the lease agreement that we have collaboratively discussed with the Legion board. They have approved it. Now it needs to come to our board to see if it is something that they also would approve. After that, then there's other steps that will come. If the board does not approve this lease, then we're kind of at a stop.
Okay. Yeah. Because I remember we did that letter, but I just wasn't sure. It's like, so I guess we'll find out later how this whole thing is finalized, right? If we
Yeah.
get there.
Chair
Right.
Kirkman and
Hopefully
Trustee
by
Benz,
baseball
there'll be
season
some
this spring.
there'll be some legal paperwork that's going to come
Yeah.
at that point in time. We're just building the infrastructure to see if there is an interest.
Mhm.
And again, as we have talked back and forth, our part right now is that we have to determine, or the board would need to determine if the lease is something that they are comfortable with and would approve.
Okay.
And then we'll go on to the next step, and then I can help you start painting the next pictures. But this is really our next hurdle that would need to be either approved or not. And then from there, we can start talking about some next. And we also have to look at the city, and they have their components that also have to be a part of this. So there's still much to do, but we're just progressing. And I wanted to give you a heads up that this is coming,
Okay.
and that you have the opportunity to review it and take that into consideration. So I will be asking for an action item next board meeting on the language of the agreement of the lease.
Just that. The
Just that.
structure of the lease.
Just
That's
that.
it.
And again, that is it for me. So thank you very
Mr.
much.
Stoffer, a quick question. There's a property downtown in Nampa, big white warehouse building. Is the IT still using that?
So Trustee Kirkman, we have multiple buildings down by the railroad.
Okay, so it sounds like a song almost.
Is it by the skating rink?
Yeah, down in that area. I just remember going down there and getting a replacement for a laptop or whatever. So
Yes.
my question is, do we own those properties or are those leased?
Great question. Trustee Kirkman, we lease the IT building.
The big
that is
white
leased.
warehouse?
Well, we have a couple white warehouses.
Oh.
So
Okay.
the IT warehouse, yes, is leased. There's another one that we own that's not far from it. So we own 3 properties right along the railroad, and one of them is our maintenance, and one of them is for grounds, and one of them is IT.
Okay.
Yeah, we own the building, not the ground. We rent the ground from the railroad.
Oh,
Okay.
Which one's the Graybill Wholesale? Old Graybill Wholesale?
That, that's
Yeah.
the ground house.
Second.
That's
Yeah.
the grounds warehouse.
Okay.
Second Street.
and then there's another building in front of that one too, or is that one not? No, okay.
Depends on your definition of front.
Well,
So yes, further down the road,
first.
further down the
Towards
road, it is our
first.
maintenance building. So
Yeah.
yes.
Kirkman trustees, we'll bring pictures.
Yeah,
next
we'll bring a
time,
map if you
the
need
next
it.
facilities update, just to let you know what those buildings are.
So, sorry.
Sorry to throw that out there.
No worries.
It's a good question.
Okay, so we own the building, but not the ground. So like a trailer home park, but without being able to move. Okay, got it. Okay, thanks. Sorry.
When you see a big old white warehouse rolling down toward town, we're moving.
And there's no danger of the railroad ever saying, hey, we need that land?
Who knows?
Okay, sorry.
Okay. Anything else? You better go,
Yeah.
Mr. Stafford, before there's another question that I ask. Okay, Dr. Russell,
Yep.
enrollment.
Chair Kirkman, just next item on the agenda information is just our monthly attendance enrollment report. If there's any questions on that, I'd be happy to answer those. If not, could move on to our facilities update. Any questions on enrollment attendance?
I don't.
We're pretty close to last year.
Yep. Move on to our finance report with Mr. Dewey. As you know, the first Friday in November is a very important date for the school district as we look and see where our budget comes in. So we budget in the spring, and 2 key components are really important: how many students come in the fall, and then of those students, how many of those students attend school for the first 10 weeks of school, and that helps determine our staffing. We're right now in the process of determining that unit count amount. We are a little off from where we had predicted. Mr. Dewey is going to go into where we think we're off a little bit. We're digging into the numbers, and some of that's how we're reporting to the state. Our report is due on Friday. And so we're looking and finding as much clarity as we can about why some of those numbers aren't reporting where we would like to see them. But Mr. Dewey can share more information about that.
All right, we're going to go to the next one.
Oh, that's a cool picture.
All right. As Superintendent Russell had just said that we are a little bit lower. We're lower than what we had budgeted. We're still trying to get the issue we're having right now is the reports that are actually through the state already aren't up to date numbers. Like we don't actually have our other report that's even due until the 21st. And that includes all of our October and the first week of November stuff. So we're still looking at what it's going to be. We do know that they have seen that we have an issue with our numbers as well. The state's come back and said, yeah, your numbers don't make sense either. There's some stuff happening, and we believe it's in our power school side. It's not at the state side. So it's a matter of what we're looking at, and maybe some coding and that kind of things for our students. And so we're looking at that, and they're like, yeah, in all the years we look back, we can tell there's something here weird with your ADA that's not right. So so we're looking at that. So I wish I could have got you up here and said, hey, everything's great. Numbers are where we need to be, but we're not there yet.
Sounds like a Luma issue.
It is not a Luma issue. This is, I believe, purely at Nampa School District issue. And we're looking into it, and we've had our data team for the last week and a half. All they've done is sit in a room and try to work through this. So luckily we have a big data team to be able to do this, because in the past it would have been only on Cody, and Cody's one other person before was Ryan. So I think we've got a lot of people on it, so we'll get there.
So will we have some updates to this?
Yeah, we definitely will have
next
some updates. That the issue we have, and I'll show it later on, but because we don't officially, we have to submit our data on Friday. I won't even be able to have access to those that when they go through the state until Monday or Tuesday the next week. So that, because they've got to generate and all that kind of stuff. So we got to see exactly where we are. We're pretty confident because we have some data team that will actually can get that for, but there's a lot of things that they're finding, which the state said, hey, look here, look here, look here. We are finding that some of those things are off. We're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And then we're kind of go from there. On my next slide, I'll actually explain kind of where we think we're off on some
Yeah,
things.
so Chair, Trustees, I'll keep you updated and kind of the Friday update. And then as we have the next finance report, we'll definitely update you where we know there's a little bit more clarity. Mr. Dewey can kind of next slide, we'll probably go into some detail about where we think some of our reporting might be.
Okay, good.
The good news is we were pretty close to what we thought we were going to have for a decline in enrollment. So we were hoping at the beginning of the year that we were going to have more than what we thought. And it's just, I think little by little, as things got cleaned up and as kids have already dropped, we're seeing we're about roughly around what we thought we'd be. And that's around like 250 kids decline, which again is a bad trend. We have our kindergartens coming in are a lot smaller than our senior class leaving, right? And so that's kind of the nature of our world, and the people coming in are not coming in with kids. So that's kind of where we're at. So the midterm reporting, like I said, is due on Friday, and our data team is working at it right now. If you want to go to the next one. So here's the areas that we're looking at. Our main ADA numbers, which is basically our schools themselves, not our alternatives or any of that kind of stuff. Those are about what we had anticipated. That decline we're seeing is about exactly, about 1 or 2 units different than what we were actually looking at. And even with that, we actually believe, and our data team believes, that they found a couple of those things that they're saying, hey, this looks weird. Oh, our high school's doing some weird stuff here, or our elementaries did this, or vice versa, one of those things. So they're cleaning that up, and I think we should actually be pretty good compared to what our budget is. Our main concern right now is alternative units. And when we do on our alternative side of things, when we do look at budget, usually that's pretty safe to go, every year it's about the same. And so those are some of the things that actually have had a dramatic decline. And we think it's some different processes that they did this year that weren't aware that they was affecting numbers. And so we're going back and saying, hey, no, we got to go back to the old process. We're trying to rework some stuff, and we think it's going to come out okay in the end, but we don't know. The hard part is our middle and high school summer completion schools. That data got overwritten as soon as we put it in. So it's a very manual process to go through the IC upload and update it. We can't just go back into a Power School upload. And so they're going to go back and do some stuff with which we know there's some problems with that, with the way we did attendance and that kind of stuff. And so if we can get that alternative side corrected, we'll basically be exactly where we had budgeted, which is right where I want to be. The average salary is a little bit below estimates, but that happens every year. We're just kind of guessing who's going to be here, who's not. But where we are financially on the other side, so revenue may be down, but our expenses are roughly pretty good. So we're we're in a spot where I think we're going to be okay in the salary side, as long as we can fix those errors in our midterm units. The hard part is if we can't get these figured out and fixed by December, then our January account comes out, and a lot of our special revenue is based on that midterm numbers. And then those numbers are based on basically finite amounts. So it's $5 million split amongst everybody, right? Or whatever across the state. Well, they basically say, okay, here's your numbers in January. We have the ability to go back 3 years and fix them, but our special revenue doesn't have that ability. So it's basically lost revenue if those numbers are low, if that makes sense. So they have a little bit of correction because a lot of those, they give us like an 80% up front and then a 20% later for that dip in ebbs and flows. But those are us getting it fixed by December is the most important thing. So our January numbers that come out, that's what the state has for us. And those are what we're going to use going forward. So
Chair Kirkman, trustees, just to kind of clarify again, so in our alternative programs, it's how we're taking attendance. We're looking in double, it's a little bit different this year than we did last year. And we're double checking to see if we took attendance like we did last year compared to this year, if that would make a difference. In the summer school, it has to do with our completion. If students completed early, did we mark them absent for the rest of it, even though they completed summer school, or were they marked as completed? And we're going back and double checking that. It's just taking time because it's a manual process. But those are two key areas that we think we might be able to find why we might be off compared to where we were.
Oh, why did the attendance change for alternative?
Because in the alternative program, as we some of our schools have kids out in internships, and so they're leaving and coming, going through the day. So what we would pick is a specific time to say, what was our attendance at this specific time? What would change to this year is we began to take attendance every single period. And as kids are coming and going, we believe we had some lower attendance in some of those. So we're trying to go back to that one period of this is where they are here, because our kids do come and go internships. And some days they're not even there because they're at their internship. So I think that's where what we found out this morning is some of the clarification we're going to try to dig through a bit more.
yeah, and it's things we've done for years. State's been okay with, so we're not going back and saying, hey, we're going to switch things on us. The reality is I think there was just some change and we weren't aware that was happening. And the bad part about, okay, we get our numbers basically a month or two late, you can't fix it. Now we can fix because it's not like we're going back and adjusting attendance for a kid that's not there. We're just basically adjusting it for the right way to and put them in the system so we get credit for it, if that makes sense. So I don't think we're doing anything shady on that side to go back and fix it. It's more of a, okay, it was we believe it was just entered in the system wrong. So we're good to go. If we want to go to the next one. All right, so here's the next step for our what happens here. As I said, this first month is what we're going through. So I've got the reports for salary. The beauty is Gwen and her team have got all of our information in. She told me today that the state has everything we have. There's two different things that happen. Our brand new teachers, that's pretty easy. You know, we get it in. But whenever we have a teacher come in from out of state, then we have to do 4 pages for each person of all this data that you have to grab and try to get their records of what they were, you know, doing before and what was going on before. Because if we can't get any of those records that show that they've been evaluated based on the Danielson model or any of that kind of stuff, basically a 20-year teacher, basically we get paid a P1, which is basically a 4th-year teacher. So we have to work our butt off to try to get that. And Gwen and those guys have done a really good job of trying to get those in. So I believe we've got everything at the state now. Problem is it takes them backed up because everybody in the state's doing the same thing for new hires. So it takes a while for them to get through them. But so I should be able to get those salary figures updated here soon. Late November, like I said, the ADA reports should be final. Then I'll be able to compare exactly reports from last year to this year to see kind of where we're off. December, like I said, due date for everything, certified and ADA corrections. So they have January is the first numbers that they actually give us, where that's our first midterm. And at that point in time, everything else just coincides with that. So it's, we're already 6 months into the year and I barely get to know what our budget is. The beauty is in July, I get to know what our operations budget is. If that matters, the year's done. So it's a great way to do things, but we're used to what we are and it is what it is. So we just kind of deal with it. Anything else? I think that's it. Do you guys have any questions?
No, not at this time. Do we?
You normally like to say,
I know.
But until I can
Yeah.
get those numbers right, I'll have to say here.
Yeah,
So
I
I'm
mean,
not
I
freaking
was-
out yet.
I know. that's
Even though
kind of what I was-
we have the capability going through it. The only issue is that this year, if anything, we were a little bit more tight with our budget coming into this year than what we're used to doing. So it's not like we can't handle it. We don't have reserves to handle it, and it's a matter of making sure we're tight in different areas that we want to be. Normally, if you think about our general fund budget, we're $110 million, right? We do not spend 100% of our general fund budget every year, usually 1 to 2%. That's $2 million. We hold on some positions and different things like that. We can handle it. So it doesn't take much, each position of a teacher is about $80,000 to $100,000, depending on where you're at. So if we, have to put off some hiring, then we can to make sure we make budget.
I was going to ask about some of these numbers on here, but I can do that later. I can do it outside of this meeting too. But a quick question: do we typically spend faster in the first half of the year of our operating budget? Say not total operating, but I mean for like maintenance, facilities, that kind of stuff, or is that typically is there more spent in the last part of the year? Does that make sense? What I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying. Because years ago, Superintendent Peterson had me try to build a graph to say, hey, this is where we are. And eventually what it said was for 5 years, we spend the exact same every single year at the exact same time. Usually in the summer, we have a lot of summer projects for like maintenance operations. This year this last summer, we had a lot of projects like the remodels of the buildings and the football fields and all that kind of stuff, right? So we had a lot of those one-time things we did over the summer, a lot bigger than what we're used to.
But outside of those one-time
So
things.
usually what happens, because we're a level pay in our salaries, and that's 80% of our staff, that basically gets amortized, if an easier term, across the whole spectrum. So we don't have a lot of ebbs and flows. The one thing we do try to do with our leases for our our devices and that kind of stuff, we have an agreement with our leasing company that we always pay that in September, because we get our big payment in August 15th. So for the whole year, we make one big payment for all our devices once a year.
Sure.
So that's a one big payment out, but it is going basically for the whole year. But
So-
that's usually the only thing that hits us.
Yeah, and the reason I asked that question is if, given the financial situation of the state and, just kind of what's going on, is if there were to be some restrictions on spending in the school district, which would certainly be at the administration level, that's not something that the board would have any part in, but would it be, where would you make those restrictions, I guess, based on the first half of the year spending or quarter by quarter spending, or I don't know.
I can answer your question effectively. What you're saying is, if the governor were to come back and say, hey, we need to cut some more to make sure we're within the legal confines of our budget. One of the nice things that we have in school districts is our public stabilization fund. So what they basically said, and they assured us at the beginning of the year, when Governor Little basically said, hey, we need to have everybody do a 3 to 4% cut. Schools were purposely not hit with that. So they basically said it's not schools. The State Board and State Department of Education at the top end did some cuts and that kind of stuff to kind of make it look good. But reality is none of the schools are getting cut at this time. And what they've been told by the governors is what they are telling us is that we shouldn't see a cut this year with anything associated with that budget. The concern we have is what's going to happen next year. Because one of the things that they're throwing out is if the state of Idaho follows the big, beautiful bill provisions with tax cuts and that kind of stuff, that alone could cost about $250 million just in those cuts to the state revenue coffers. Yes. And then potentially with other declines and stuff like that, so it's happening to the state and that kind of stuff, it could be another 250. So a total of $500 million in revenue drop. So we don't know what that's going to mean to us because we're 50% of the budget, right? So that's the areas that we're not sure whether it's going to be. In the past, when they did that to us, they hit us a lot in operational, and they hit us with our special funding, and so that's what happened in COVID. Granted, that was in March. So the only thing they could hit us was that area. But those are the things that took years to get back, and we haven't had an operational increase for a while.
Well,
So it
and I
hurts
think
us.
my question stems from the what ifs.
Yep.
Because it's what might happen. We know something's going to happen. We just don't know to what extent.
Yes.
So my question is, I guess to the administration, Dr. Russell also is when do you start, not knowing how far in advance, but when do we start?
We're already having those conversations
Okay.
now.
The chair
It was-
trustees.
I think that's good information for.
Yeah,
our-
we
for our-
haven't
for the public
formally
to
adopted
know.
anything because the plan is trying to guess what our
No, I
legislators are
get
going
it,
to do
and that's
is
anyone's game.
and the other side is like half of our things that we already get, or more than half, are statutory.
Yeah.
And so they would have to basically amend statute. They'd have to do some stuff like our salaries for our
Okay.
teachers and stuff, those type of things. So what are they going to do? Are they going to not give an increase to career ladder? Are they going to dock the career ladder? Because now that we've invested in that, are we going to have to go there?
Well, and some of those things
Or-
are out of our control, but I think
Yeah.
it's good to know, especially the public to know that we're on top of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That we can anticipate what's coming and we're taking proactive measures in our day-to-day spending.
Yeah, and
type of a thing.
the issue is, like I said, they found this out in 2013 prior to me coming when they said, oh my gosh, we don't have any money, right? The issue is when majority of your costs are teacher salaries that are on a contract, we're pretty much stuck. And so it's not like our classified or not, we have, but that cost is very little in comparison to our certified salaries. So they're on a contract,
Yeah,
we
and
can't do
there's
anything for
nothing-
the rest of the year.
We can't. there's
Yeah,
nothing really we
and
can
if
do
you
with
look
that.
at like even say, okay, schools, we're not going to spend anything on our supplies. We literally for the year give, I think it's $400,000 total is our budget for
Yeah.
school supplies. So if they haven't spent it by then, okay, you're going to get cut. Is that going to save us $10,000, 20 grand? I mean, the payroll is where we need to be. So payroll is the only area that we can actually do anything. And like I said, this year, I don't believe anything's going to happen. But
Well,
I
when you
think
say
next
this
year is
year,
when
do
we
you
need
mean
to.
this
This
calendar
fiscal
year?
year right now. Calendar
Fiscal
doesn't
year.
make this
I know,
fiscal
but
year.
fiscal
Yes.
year, but
Yes.
calendar year does matter for the legislature.
No, they're
Because it
based on
starts-
fiscal year as well.
But I know, but the legislature starts in January, and
Yes,
that's when
they
the
do.
decisions are made.
Yeah, and so that we'll be keenly aware of what's going on at that. And everybody in my position across the state are really looking at making sure what's going on, and we'll be involved in that heavily. The state Department of Education, basically the flat request across the board, other than they asked for an additional $50 million for SPED.
Yeah.
And other than that,
That
and
was
they
it.
basically said, and people in the know said, yeah, good luck with that, guys. So we're not
All
sure
right.
exactly how that's going to go.
Well, Dr. Russ, I'll give you just to say if you wanted to comment or.
Yeah, well, Chair Kirkman, actually, I was going to comment on the superintendent's report, was going to discuss this. Actually.
Oh, well,
So
there you
we
We'll
could
just let him talk.
move
Right
on.
into-
Thank you.
Yeah,
We moved Mr.
you're
Dewey
welcome.
out.
I'm
You
just
didn't
trying to
even
get.
know it.
I just want you to know it's not. We're not going in blind.
No,
We know of areas we can. Sometimes we have some contracts we can't get out of. In some things, one of the biggest costs we have a bunch of IT in this district. We have one of the biggest ITs in the area, right? With the number of kids we have in that, and maintaining that costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
So it's not like we can just cut
well,
those.
and there's certainly
So-
no room. There's certainly no room for panic or anything like that right
Not
now
yet.
either. It's just I think the staff is doing a very good job of being methodical. They're
Mhm.
thinking it. They're looking down the road, and so
I can
appreciate
just
that.
assure you the same thing will not happen that happened prior. That's we know, we're not going to happen. If it happens as a state level, then everybody's together. We will
Yeah.
not be an outlier what we're doing
We'll all
against
go
what
down
the state's
and
doing.
ship together.
Correct.
All right, thanks, Mr. Dewey.
Yeah, Chair Kirkman, trustees, superintendent's report. Also went up to the ISB convention and would like, it's very similar to trustees. It is always nice to see all the superintendents up there as well. And we had our superintendent's meeting, and I was going to discuss very similar to what Mr. Dewey had shared. The information that we received is there are some concerns around the tax projections that are coming into the state, which are lower than what were projected. And there is an anticipation that those projections may not meet where they were hoping, and that's going to be less tax revenue for the state. There was also concerns about what was passed at the federal level and how that money would be flowed down or lack thereof to the state. And if you combine those two, the state could be looking at a potential deficit, which, as Mr. Dewey said, we're half of the state budget. There is concern about next fiscal year that it might be a tight budget if there is potentially cuts to education. So to that question that Trustee Kirkman was asking, we are aware of that. We're monitoring it very closely. We may have to make some changes in our budget this year to try to lessen expenses. As Mr. Dewey said, the majority of our expenses are on salaries, though. That's where 80% of it is. And so that's likely if we anticipate that there's going to be some cuts next year, we might have to have a different perspective on how much FTE we allocate or not, because that's where that salary is. And much of that's done through attrition. And so, unfortunately, we're used to that. And it's typical budgeting, but we're watching it closely. And to Trustee Kirkman's comments, we are aware, and that's what our job is to be aware of those. Our primary job right now, though, is to really focus on our unit count and try to figure out what's going on with that attendance, so we can try to make sure our numbers are correct and accurate. So that's our primary one, but we're keeping a very close eye on the future and budgets and what that is, and we'll keep the board updated on as we hear things and as what we hear from the legislature as it starts in session in January. The next thing just wanted to reiterate the support from the community and thank the support from the supplemental levy. We had a big election that was really important for the students of our community, and want to thank those folks that learned about the levy, got information out, went to the polls. As we talked about already, just a lot of supports for our kids are on that, and understand it's never an easy thing to pass, but our community support, we're very fortunate in that, but I continue to have that. I'm very thankful for that, and starting to work on some of those things the baseball field is a good example. A lot of folks were interested about how that would be, and so we're starting to work on some of those things already.
Well,
really thankful of that.
And Dr. Russell, excuse me for jumping in here, but when you look at the scores that were just brought to our attention about the
IRI.
yes, thank you. I can't even spell IRI. The IRI scores, that's a result of the levy dollars from the current levy too, because some of those support salaries were paid for from the levy. So there's just so much correlation and so much direct.
There is. Trustee Kirkman, 50-ish positions in our district. Many of those support the literacy that we see with our kids. And so it's important for the community to understand that those things produce.
Yeah.
Our volleyball success is here.
Mm-hmm.
That's paid through supplemental levy. Those girls that are going scholarships to go on and the success they have and all of that.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot. It's such a big impact. And every 2 years, I really appreciate the community learning about that and understanding how that's going to impact the students and impact, the finances and all those things. But thankful that's behind us, and now we can, move forward and continue educating kids. I think that's all I had for superintendent's report, unless you have questions on some of those.
Any questions, trustees? All right, we're going to be out of here by 8 o'clock, but I do have a couple of things I wanted to add as far as our next item on the agenda is possible agenda items. At the convention last week, I went to a seminar that we were talking about. It's legal stuff. Hot topics, yeah. Anyways, there's some policies that I think we need to make sure that, not I think, but we need to make sure that we're updated, and that is due to some changes in state law. And I know I don't have a complete exhaustive list here, but I know there was that sexual education, that opt-in, opt-out policy for that new sexual education. That's a change in the state law. I think that has to do with the baby video or whatever that video is and then all that kind of stuff. Public records, I think, was one. Anyways, there was a couple, but I think, and we can discuss those more as far as getting those on the agenda, but there's a couple of policies that need to be updated based on changes in the Idaho statute. So, okay. And those might even just be simply because they're based on Idaho statute. They might just be a first reading, who knows? So we can get those on the agenda for December and get them out of the way. Trustees, anything else? All right, then. Dr. Russell, last chance. All right, he's letting his staff go home. Look at that, 7:58. And this meeting is adjourned.